Elon Musk's power play against Sam Altman and OpenAI is going to be successful in 2025. It's going to have tremendous implications to the AI large language model landscape. And I actually think X.AI is going to rise to the top of that. That's a further prediction. Microsoft is going to be affected. Google will be affected, and obviously OpenAI. This is AI First with Adam and Andy, the show that takes you to the front lines of AI innovation in business. I'm Andy Sack, alongside my co-host, Adam Brotman. Each episode, we bring you candid conversations with business leaders transforming their businesses with AI. No fluff, straight talk, real use cases and insights for you. Happy New Year, everybody. Adam, great to see you. We're recording this before the new year. This is our first episode of AI First with Adam and Andy. I'm so excited for the new year, for Forum 3, and for this pod.
Happy New Year from the past. We're recording this.
Back to the future. Future. So I think what we had talked about doing this episode is, I think we should probably introduce the pod and give people a little context of where the idea came from and our positioning as a pod, like why the world needs yet another AI pod show. And then we'll get to predictions for the year. I think that's where we want to start, which is a little anomalous, I think, for what you'd expect. We don't have a guest today, but Adam, why don't you start with what was the inspiration for the pod or for the positioning? Give people a little insight about what's to come, what to expect from us.
So I hope everybody gets something out of this that they're not getting out of other. There's a lot of other great podcasts around AI in general and just technology as well. So there's podcasts that give you sort of news of the day and of the week and keep you up to speed and do a really good job of helping you to sort of understand what's happening in AI at a big picture level and a trend level. There's other podcasts that talk about the business, of AI at a macro level, thinking about trends and the big players and all that. And then there's, of course, 1,000 of these YouTube shows that tell you how to get rich from AI or how to prompt AI or whatever. We're coming at it from a totally different perspective. We wrote a book called AI First that is about to come out in hardcover form from Harvard Business Review. We've actually already released it digitally to a community of our readers that we put together when we published the book serially. And the book and now our business is coming from a unique perspective of, if you're a brand builder and a business leader, an organization leader, and you want to really understand, what do you do as CEO or a leader to understand how to get your hands around this Gen AI thing? What is it? What do you do? What's the process? What are some good use cases? How do you build around this? We're coming at it from that very practical perspective, being two people that have sat in the seat of CEOs and CMOs and CDOs and whatnot. And so we're going to take the approach on this podcast, just like we did in our book, which is unique to Adam and Andy and our worldview and our experience set. And it's meant to be kind of by business leaders and operators for business leaders and operators. And that's why it's going to be full of case studies and examples and not fluff. And we're just going to talk to our readers and our listeners like we would to our clients, which is like we would to our colleagues. We've been in the trenches, we've sat on the boards, we've sat in the C-suites, and we're just going to approach it from that perspective and just be honest and transparent and hopefully helpful in that regard.
Yeah, I think that I think you hit the salient points of who it's for and what we hope to bring. I think, Adam, why don't you let's give people we won't do this each week, but why don't you give a brief introduction of yourself? I'll do the same. And then if there's anything else we want to say about the pod, about what's coming, I have something to add afterwards. So why don't you go first with your background?
Yeah, so I'm, lifelong Seattle guy, lifelong digital entrepreneur and operator. I founded a digital company called Play Network right after being a lawyer at the beginning of my career. And I've never done anything but digital innovation, digital transformation and digital engagement since then. So that first company was called Play Network. It was a digital music company. I went on to go work for Bill Gates, actually through a company, not Microsoft, but a company called Corbis that did digital imagery and digital image licensing. Went on to be the chief digital officer at Starbucks for the bulk of my career. After that was president and co-CEO at J.Crew, and have come back now to the West Coast and done a number of entrepreneurial endeavors, most notably partnering with my buddy Andy as co-founder and co-CEO at Forum 3. So that's, and I sit on a number of boards, as do you. And we like, at this stage of our career, we like being kind of part operator, part mentor, part consultant. And that's who we are. That's who I am.
Yeah. So I'm Andy Sack, and career entrepreneur and technologist. So I started my first internet company in 1995. The 90s, I was an operator of 4 startups, sold 3 of them successfully. I became a venture capitalist in Seattle, a seed stage venture capitalist, a founders co-op, worked with Techstars. But most notably, I spent 7 years working directly for Satya Nadella just as he became CEO. And so I worked doing digital transformation at Microsoft, which prepared me really for the work that I'm doing now with you, Adam, at Forum 3. And I've been fortunate enough. We started this company a couple of years ago. It wasn't necessarily intended. It was almost by accident that we started this company together, but we've been friends for a long time, and it's been awesome working with you. And really, I think what drives both the book and the podcast, as well as Forum 3 in general, is one, we have just a natural curiosity about how new technologies can be applied in business, and really helping people, mentoring business leaders to find great use cases from that technology. And I think that curiosity and the desire to help people is what really drives us personally, not to mention our friendship, which it's been a blast. So with that, welcome to AI First with Adam and Andy, and couldn't be happier to have this be the first episode. Let's get to our predictions. Adam, why don't you share your top prediction for the year? This was like a list that we kind of put together, but I kind of drove it. So feel free to modify just your first prediction that you want to offer up to folks for 2025.
Yeah. So I would say the one that talks about AI search, I want to talk about AI search. I feel like, because if you think about the big trends in the AI space right now, one of them is agents are going to be a big deal. I think that's one of our predictions, is just like, you're going to see a lot more of these autonomous agents as opposed to chat bots with AI. And I actually think you're going to see companies like Apple. It's another one of our predictions. But I want to roll that into a mega prediction, which is that I think AI search is going to be a specific thing that is going to capture the imagination of the mainstream consumer and human being that uses AI in a way that it hasn't yet. And I say that because as we're leaving 2024, I think Perplexity is doing better than it's ever done. I think it's people that use it love it, and it's becoming more and more of a prominent factor. But it's also inspiring ChatGPT to introduce ChatGPT Search, which just went online officially, just a few weeks ago, really. And then you're seeing more and more of these AI overviews when you do a Google search. And okay, so I'm seeing a trend line as we enter 2025, as we exit 2024, towards AI search is different than regular search and different than AI prompting. It's this combination that's incredibly powerful to give you an answer and taps into these AI capabilities. And that's before you even talk about Amazon and Apple really taking advantage of it. So I feel like the mega trend of all these things rolls up into the fact that this concept of, I'm just going to talk to AI, probably by voice mode a lot of the time, and ask it to help me figure something out, either a personal question like what's on my calendar, all the way to like true AI search. I think that that's going to be a mega trend in 2025 and is going to really become a major use case for AI. Whereas today, people use AI instead of search, and they kind of almost confuse the two things. I think that the proper sort of usage of AI search is going to become a big trend in 2025.
Awesome. I agree with you. I think that Google's dominance in search will will finally be, the monopoly of search will finally be pierced a little bit. So the first one I want to do is probably one of my most provocative ones, which is, and it's been triggered by recent events, which is Elon Musk's power play against Sam Altman and OpenAI is going to be successful in 2025. And what do I mean by that? Which is OpenAI raised $6 billion in 2024. And as part of that fundraising, there was a 2-year time limit for Sam and OpenAI to transfer the company from its nonprofit corporate structure to a for-profit corporate structure. And so the election happened. Donald Trump won. Elon Musk gained influence and power. And it seems that his conflict with Sam Altman and the company, he filed suit and injunction to actually slow down the transition of power. And I actually think in 2025, he's going to make that transfer to a corporate structure near impossible to impossible. And he's going to actually win. And as a result of that, it's going to have tremendous implications to the AI large language model landscape. And I actually think X.AI is going to rise to the top of that. That's a further prediction. Microsoft is going to be affected. Google will be affected, and obviously OpenAI. So Musk power play is successful. Think of it like a hockey game, and he's
got more men on the
men on the ice.
I think that's an interesting prediction. I mean, put it this way, putting aside the specifics of your prediction, which I think are logical, I'm actually fascinated by the amazing fast rise of X.AI and, things like Grok
Totally.
on Twitter. And given the amount of, my understanding, I think I read a news article, don't know if it's true, that Musk he just raised money for X.AI. I want to say at a $50 billion valuation. I think a lot of that money, if not all of it's going right to NVIDIA to get create, more of these kind of supercomputer data centers. And that's, I think your prediction about that the rise of kind of Musk powered AI platforms, whether they're X.AI and Grok and Tesla and Optimus from Tesla. And I get confused between what the line is between them, but I think you're seeing like an incredible rise of all of them. And to your point, with more power and whatnot, like that's going to be interesting to watch in 2025.
Great. What's your next one?
Well, I kind of touched on it a little bit, but I'll come back to it, which is Apple. I feel that if you were to list like who are the top players in AI right now, and who do you think of when you think of AI? I mean, we just talked about a bunch of them: Google, OpenAI, X.AI now kind of coming on really, really fast. Of course, you think about Anthropic with Claude. You think about Meta with Llama. You don't talk about Apple, right? Right now we don't talk about Apple. We don't talk that much about Amazon either, even though both Amazon and Apple have tremendous kind of built-in advantages when it comes to AI, and I think traction with AI. And I'm going to predict that by this time next year at our next prediction show, we should do like a prediction recap at the end of the year, right?
We will. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I think when we're doing the prediction recap, and you can play this video, so put it on tape. I think Apple will be a major player in the consumer mind space of AI. And now I don't know what the definition of major player is, but I'm saying like the average person is going to talk about Apple Intelligence. When they think of AI, they're going to say, oh, like when I use my iPhone to do X or Y, because I just feel like having the ability to talk to your phone and have some kind of a small model with access to a larger model off the phone and be able to sort of access all your apps and do things for you and in a semi or fully agentic way where it can like it can book travel for you, it can book meetings for you, it can make calls, it can use all your apps in theory. Like the power of that is incredible. It's like life-changing if it was used well. And I think Apple sits in a position where they'd only have to sort of crack a small part of that nut and they would be in an incredible position with the consumer. And
Totally.
I would not bet against them. They have time and time again proven that they're not the first to something, but when they decide to do it, they typically do it very well. Now, that doesn't always pan out. I think Apple tried social media at one point, and like, was it called Ping? Am I remembering that right? Anyways, like there's been times where Apple has tried things and they've been in a great position. But I think that when it comes to AI, they're sitting in this amazing position, and they don't have to hit the ball in the park. If they just make solid contact here, I think it's going to be
2025
big
is the
deal.
year of Apple AI, is what you're saying. And Siri becoming, it's realizing the potential that we've all been waiting for.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Great. I'll add one, which is 2025 is going to be I mean, we've sort of gotten a little dose, but 2025 is going to be the year of generative AI video. I think that, we saw a little bit of it with OpenAI, and we got a hint of that, but that's never been made available. And I think in 25, we're going to see that break out. And I think the power of that and the impact of that on society, business, and the individual is going to be really dramatic. So
I think you're right. Yeah. No, I mean, I think you're right, because I'm starting to see little bits and pieces now on my Twitter feed or my X feed, whatever you call it. Like I'll see these videos that are clearly AI. And I don't mean like they're more for fun, but they're just showing like they're like fake, right? Like these fakes that are kind of
totally.
fun, kind of memeified fakes. And the fact that like I'm starting to see that now, when that becomes mainstream, to your point, like where we can do a podcast episode and it Adam and Andy, and you can't tell the difference, and it just goes ahead and does an episode for us, or um uh advertisements start to become more prolific, video ads and pre-rolls, and you have it up here. Another prediction is like the rise of the AI influencer. I think they're like, those are related, right? Because if you get AI video becoming a big deal in 2025, you're going to, the downstream effect of that is what? And it's probably AI influencers and less expensive marketing and, a bunch of bad stuff too, like deep fakes and misinformation.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of, for some reason, perversely excited about the rise of synthetic influencers. Also, synthetic bands have already taken off. And so I think fundamentally the entire media landscape is going to be affected by that trend. Adam, you want to cover this next one?
So far, we've been talking about these kind of consumer applications and bigger things like that are relevant to the average person. I would say on the enterprise, I do think 2025 is the year that AI tools and AI policies and AI councils become table stakes for businesses. I don't think we're not even close to that right now. I'm not saying by the end of 2025, I predict that it's going to have 100% coverage, but by the end of 25, I think every enterprise will either be in the middle of instituting or have already instituted some sort of an AI strategy, and that the AI and enterprise use of AI tools will become something that everybody's talking about doing or starting to do. It won't be 100% coverage, but right now it's like 5% or 10%. And I think by the end of 25, I think that's going to jump up to like 50%.
Yeah. I mean, if that were to happen, that's good news for you and I.
Right. It is our
I mean,
mission. Yeah.
that is why we're in this business, and in some reason why we're recording this episode. So, and
Yeah.
launching this podcast,
I mean,
because,
am I predicting it or manifesting it? I'm not
yeah,
sure.
both. I mean,
Yeah,
you're predicting it and manifesting it.
that's right.
In addition to 2025 being the year of AI video, 2025 is going to be the year of agentic AI and agents, and sort of the very twinkling beginnings of AGI are going to happen. They're going to be all over. You're going to be managing employees and agents to get your work done. You're going to be having them in your personal life and in your work life. And 2025 is the year of agentic AI.
Yeah. I think that's a good prediction. I kind of like what I said about enterprise. Like, I think it's going to be interesting when we look back at these predictions, at the difference between the year that these things started to take off versus the year they became mainstream, because we're kind of at zero on agents right now. So I think you're right. I think 2025 is going to be the year that like the average person understands what an autonomous agent even is, right? Like,
Totally.
and but because there's going to be these examples and you're just going to be like, your jaw's going to drop. But I think it's going to take a year or two to like really proliferate.
At the end of last year, I became late at night, I would be watching video. I became super interested in the intersection of AI and Web3. Obviously, Forum 3 has a history with Web3. We're certainly familiar with it. But this whole intersection of crypto and AI and like the rise of agentic AI on crypto, I think you're going to see. So that my prediction for the year is the intersection of Web3 and AI and how that plays out. And I think 2025 is going to be a year of the merging of those worlds. Just I could be even more pointed. I got totally into there's a particular token where that is completely synthetic. The synthetic agent basically is surveying all of Twitter and social media and tracking, because a lot of crypto is on Twitter and social. And it's surveying all that and posting all the time. And it's building audience along the way. And it's a token itself. And that intersection just is and no human could post as frequently as it is with the kind of market survey and data. And the fact that it's sort of feeding on itself and it's building market capitalization at the same time is just kind of mind bending.
Yeah. At your urging, I listened to that podcast and it was like,
It's kind of crazy, right?
yeah, it was a little bit like, because we were in the middle of some of the Web3 stuff, and I can imagine what it might have sounded like to someone who wasn't if we told them what we were doing. And I feel like it felt a little like that to me when I was like, I was following what they were saying, but I'm like, it's so interesting how if you don't understand AI and Web3 and someone explained to you the intersection of AI and Web3, you would be like, what are you even talking about? Now, the thing I'll say though, just to
Yeah,
bring it back,
perhaps we should erase that prediction from our prediction show because it's sort of off topic and it's not quite the zone that we're going for with the plot. But
right.
whatever,
No,
whatever.
but also if in an effort to try and make it more, I'll call it understandable and accessible, is that you take something that's really not that understandable and easy to use, which is crypto and blockchain. And it's one of the reasons why it hasn't, as a application, hasn't become mainstream, even though like the cryptocurrencies have become much more mainstream, of course. The ownership of a cryptocurrency, you don't need to know how to use like a crypto wallet to own Bitcoin, right? You can own it in all these different ways. And there's an argument about whether or not you should or shouldn't. But here's the point. I was realizing this, AI and AI agents, like they'll be able to do things that are complicated and difficult for the average person. So let's take it away from crypto for a second. The AI agent can code, right? And it can do a data science analytics and things that you and I just couldn't do. Like I'm not a coder and I don't know how to create models and stuff. I barely know how to use a spreadsheet. So the truth is that like, that's a really interesting point, isn't it? Like an AI, when you bring up the prediction about an AI agent, I just think to kind of bring it home to our audience, if we don't edit this out, is that whether it be Web3 or creating code or doing analytics or whatever, like when you start to think about an AI being agentic to your prediction on that and realize like now you personally have this thing that can go figure all these things out and do all these things for you. You don't have to figure out how to code. You don't have to figure out how to use this website or do this thing or do whatever. Or it can do it for you. Like, then it makes you realize like, oh my God, no wonder these agents are going to be so big and be out there. And they might start doing stuff for you that you would never have done for yourself in terms of like wading into, different areas like blockchain or crypto. So, the reason I bring it up, I was thinking about all these AI agents out there with crypto wallets and they're able to like, buy tokens and sell tokens and,
Totally,
you know,
totally.
yeah. And I was like, oh my God, that's, by the way, that whole trend, and maybe we'll bring it home at this point, that Web3 AI trend came from a guy that was effectively trying to like create like an AI simulation of Andreessen Horowitz, right?
Yeah,
And to see if
yeah,
he,
yeah.
and so,
A16Z.
you and I have talked about like, will there be like an AI 100 fund? Should we create an AI 100 fund, right? So these are, that could be maybe my final
So when
prediction.
Yeah, okay. What's your final
My
prediction?
final prediction is that I actually think that you're going to see, again, more. I think they'll start to be, this isn't on our list, but I'm just going to say it because we've talked about it. Like, I do think in 2025, you'll start to see these sort of like investment vehicles that are either rooted in AI or driven by AI in ways that we haven't seen now because AI is so general purpose. And so we've talked about that. And I think that could be another interesting prediction for 2025.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit of clarity to that, when you say AI 100, what do you mean?
I think that there's going to be a way to identify AI first companies. And that's not even like on the
Financially
mind.
in the public markets.
Correct. And I don't,
Yeah.
and I think that that's something hedge funds are going to do. And I think that cause if you knew right now, if I had a randomized control group and I was like, in this group, there's going to be a bunch of AI first companies. In this group, there's not. Well, we've seen what happens when you do a randomized control of a group of individuals that are able and are forced to use AI and those that are not allowed to use AI. Like you look at it on a bar chart of productivity, quality, and quantity and all that. And it's like, there's a clear separation, like a 40, 50%, like standards of deviation type step change. And so if you could, why wouldn't you want to try and emulate that in terms of an investment? And so if you could identify the top 100 companies that you could invest in that were AI first, like in theory, they should outperform the market substantially.
Yeah, which gets to the heart of Forum 3's business, which is we're in 24, toward the end of 24, we got incredibly clear that we are helping CEOs and C-suites of mid-size and large enterprises basically improve EBITDA using AI. And that is our mission and focus. And my prediction is that 2025 is our greatest year in terms of revenue growth. There's a lot of exciting things. And we become a sustainable business. That's my prediction for the year. So I would say that we become the leading boutique AI first consulting company in 2025.
I love it. So I'm going to take that prediction.
All right, take that. Maybe I don't know if it's a prediction or a manifestation, but with that, Happy New Year, everyone. Super excited to be here. Thanks for joining along. Thanks for listening to our first episode of AI First with Adam and Andy. To stay updated on the latest in AI and access exclusive content, visit our website, forum3.com, subscribe to our email list, and follow us on LinkedIn. We truly believe you can't overinvest in AI. Onward.